In this video, I want to talk about Microsoft Security Copilot pricing. But before we get into the numbers and the terminology, I'm going to admit it, I'm a massive fan of Security Copilot, especially some of the agents available. When it first came out, like a lot of people, I looked at it and thought, yeah, this is interesting, but is it actually there? Is it worth it? And to be brutally honest, it wasn't. It was disappointing. But it's made massive strides over the last year, and it's definitely worth a relook. Things do get a lot more interesting now that we have Security Copilot agents, because it isn't just about typing prompts into a chat window. Agents are designed to automate repetitive tasks and help security and IT teams work more efficiently. We'll be running through the conditional access agent in my next video. So, where do we start? First step is to understand what a secure compute unit or SCU is, because Security Copilot is charged on SCUs. And in simple terms, an SCU is a unit of AI processing power used to run Security Copilot. In simple terms, more complex questions, more SCUs. More data analyzed, more SCUs. An example of a low SCU usage is a prompt to show recent failed login attempts for a specific user for the last hour. Narrow scope and narrow time frame. High SCU usage would be something like analyze all failed login across the tenant over the last 30 days and identify anomalous patterns or brute force attempts. Massive data set, the entire tenant, and over a long period of time. Hopefully that's cleared up some of the muddy waters. So let's jump over to the computer and look at some pricing. Okay, so we're on the computer. There's a couple of places we can have a look at pricing. The first one is the good old Azure pricing calculator. So in here, we'll just type in Security Copilot and add it to estimates. The beauty about the Azure calculator is you can change the currency and locations. So we'll go to UK South and we'll change the currency to British pounds because we're in the UK. So with regard to the costing, and we were discussing security compute units earlier, and there's two different prices, one for provisioned SCUs or SCU and one for overage. So provisioned SCU is what you would need at all times for your environment. So you'd be charged provisioned SCUs whether you're using the functionality or of Security Copilot or whether you're not. Overage prices are only come into effect when they are needed. So, for example, if you are running a prompt that requires, say, it's a complex prompt that requires 4 SCU and you've provisioned 1, then at all times you'd be using 1, but then those additional 3 will only be charged when you actually use them. So let's just have a little look at some pricing. So we can see one provisioned SCU for a 730 hours, which is roughly a month, would give you a price of about just over £2,000. You'll also notice that obviously provisioned SCUs are cheaper than overage, obviously because the overage only comes into effect when you need it. So if we do one overage for the same amount, you can see the price. You can also change the price to hours, days, and month. As we'll see, the month is basically the same. If we change that to 4 hours just for some initial testing to make sure to see how everything's working, we can see there that we would be charged roughly £12. So this is a good place to have a look at how much pricing would cost, but it doesn't give you enough information in terms of what it thinks you would need in terms of provision SKUs and overage. So for that, we can go to the Security Copilot estimator. In the estimator, unfortunately, you can't change currency, so it's all in US dollars, but you can specify on how you expect to use Security Copilot. So let's say you have 2 users that'll probably be using it for Microsoft Defender, and let's say 2 for Entra. You can then do a calculation, and it'll estimate that you will need 3 SCUs per hour. So it'll give you pricing on if you have 1 provisioned SCU and then the overage, all the way through to 3 provisioned SCUs. Brilliant. Okay, so how do you set up the provisioned SCUs and overage? So we jump into the Security Copilot portal. Let's start at the beginning. So on the home dashboard, you can see some prompts that you can try in the environment. You are given an overview of agents. So Microsoft will show you some of the agents that they have developed. You can go further in there and you can look at agents that have been published by partners and Microsoft. So it does give you a lot of information. It's worth noting a lot of these agents also don't use a lot of SCUs. For example, the conditional access agent uses less than 1 SCU per run. Again, we have prompt books, and then we have agent builder. So you can build your own security Copilot agents. Okay, let's go into pricing. So go into owner settings. There's some configurations you can go through there in terms of improving, location, etc. We also have role assignments, so you can define who can use Copilot within your organization. That's really good in order to sort of save those costs and reduce costs. And then for the provisioning, we have to go to Manage Workspace. So I already have a Manage Workspace in here. If you want to create a new one, you just click on New Workspace and fill in the details. You then need to create your capacity. So again, there's a couple of places to do it. The first one is creating the capacity in this portal. So we'll click on that. And we just simply fill in the details. So subscription name, that'll be a drop down. So that's the Azure subscription where the cost will be allocated to. And then select resource group. So we will do sec Copilot resource group. On prompt evaluation location, we'll put that as UK. You can choose if you want the evaluation prompts somewhere else in the world. If there's high traffic, we'll leave that for now. Capacity region UK, and here we go. At the bottom, this is where we can define our SCUs. So again, the pricing is in US dollars, so we can put 1, and it'll give us sort of an overview at the bottom on how much the cost should be in a month. Further down, you can do your overage. So by default, it is turned on, and by default, there is no limit. So you can set a max limit, so that'll help with the costs, or you can simply turn it off. And let me just see. Oh, capacity name. So you just need to specify a capacity name. So I'll just put that in there and then click on create. That'll then take a couple of minutes. The other place that you could set up your capacity is via the Microsoft Security Compute section, which is directly in the Azure portal. As you can see, we have it in there. That has now added on there, so we can see those capacity units. We'll go back to the portal. That's already connected, so that's fine. Once you start using Security Copilot, you can actually view your usage and monitoring on this bottom pane, and this will tell you how much SCUs you have been using in your environment. Okay, so there are a couple of places you can delete the capacity units or the SCUs. The first place is in the Security Copilot portal. So we can see that is a provision SKUs we had earlier. We can also see that there's been no usage since we created it. So where can you remove it? First, click on Change Units. click on the bottom right, and you'll see a delete the capacity SKU. The other place you can do it is via the Azure portal. You can go in and delete the resource group or the capacity pool. So let's do it via the security portal to start. Delete this capacity, and we'll say yes. So cool. That has hopefully been deleted. Don't want to use any of those. Let's go back in there and let's see. Workspace useness capacity 0. Fine. Let's go in here. Let's have a look. And there we go. So that capacity pool has now been deleted and all charges should stop. To be safe, just go in there. Make sure everything has been deleted. If you have created that resource group, I recommend going in there and just deleting that resource group as well. One thing worth noting as well, for costing, my recommendations is to make sure that all costs are on a separate Azure subscription, and then also creating budget alerts for that subscription. So once it reaches a certain threshold, you can get emailed with the alerts on your costs, and that's one way just to keep abreast of the costs and make sure you don't spend too much money. And that's a wrap. So what have we done? We've covered what an SCU is, we've covered how it's charged, and we've covered pricing. Hopefully you found that useful. As mentioned earlier, in the next video we'll have a look at the conditional access agent, give a bit of a demo, you can see what it's about, and then by all means give it a go, give it a try, let me know what you think, and hope to see you soon.